Hello. In this in-class activity, we are going to determine the scale of a measurement of variables in the following questions. First question, the number of attic rooms in your house. I will first decide whether this variable has an interval or ratio scale. If we decide that this variable does not have an interval or ratio scale, we then determine whether it has a nominal or ordinal scale. Now, the number of attic rooms in your house should be a number. It could be 1, 2, 3, or 0. Now, these numbers are the result of counting, so they are very meaningful values. Therefore, this variable cannot be a nominal or ordinal scale. It has to be either interval or ratio scale because this is a meaningful value. Now, which one? Is that the interval or ratio scale? Some students have troubles to distinguish interval from ratio scales. There is a little test that you can use to make the determination. This test is about the nature of zero. The nature of zero. How do we use this test? Now let's use this example. Let's say that somebody tells you that he has 0 attic room in his house. So when this person tells you that he has a 0 attic room in his house, obviously we can understand from this statement, this person actually means that there's no attic room in his house. So here 0 means that there's a complete absence of attic room in his house. This actually exactly what that statement means. So here 0 means that there's no existence of attic room in this person's house. So this 0 means an absence of the attic room, absence of the attribute of this variable. So in this case, this variable has a ratio scale of measurement. So that's we use this the nature of 0 to reach this conclusion. Now look at the next example. The time, such as 12 o'clock p.m., 3 o'clock a.m., 4:45 p.m., so on and so forth. Now these are all values. They are the result of measurement. You measure in time. It's a result of measurement. Therefore, they are meaningful numbers, meaningful values. So they are either interval measure, interval scale, or ratio scale. And which one? And to determine whether this variable has an interval or ratio scale, again, we can use that test, the little test, to determine the nature of 0 here. Now, how do we use it? Let's say we have 0 o'clock a.m. At 0 o'clock a.m., that is 0. Does that mean that at that moment there's no time? There's absence of time. Now think about this. At 0 o'clock a.m., is there still time? At 0 o'clock, do we have time? Yes, we do have time. The time is 0 o'clock. The 0 o'clock a.m. is the time. So when we say that now it is 0 o'clock a.m., we do not mean that there is no time. So here 0 does not mean that there is an absence of time. So does 0 mean an absence of time? The answer is no. The time will never disappear. The time will never vanish. At 0 o'clock a.m., there's still time. The time is 0 o'clock. And 0 o'clock, 0 is the time. So this 0 does not mean that there is an absence of time. So the answer is no. When this happened, this variable has a interval scale of measurement. Okay, so we can use this little test about the nature of 0 to separate interval from ratio scale. Now, next question. The amount of time college students spend in parties in a week, such as 3 hours, 5 minutes, 20 hours, so on and so forth. Now, these are all values. Therefore, they are either interval or ratio measure. They could not be nominal or ordinal scale of measurement. Again, to determine whether this variable has interval or ratio scale, again, we're going to use that little test about the nature of 0. If a student spends 0 minutes, 0 hours in parties during a week, what does it mean? This means that this person spent no time at all in any parties during the week. Spent 0 time, 0 minutes, 0 hours in the party. So this 0 means that there is a complete absence of the time that this person spent in the party. This person does not spend any time in the party. He may spend all the time in a week to study. No party time at all. Okay, so that's what that statement means. So here, this 0 means there's a complete absence of the time that the student spent in parties. So 0 means there's no existence of time that is spent in any party. So what can we conclude about what the scale of measurement for this variable? Obviously, it has ratio scale of measurement, because here, this test about the nature of 0, the answer is yes. So this variable has a ratio scale of measurement. Number 4, different parts of St. Louis, such as South County, West County, and North County. Now these obviously different areas of St. Louis are just names, different labels for different locations of St. Louis. They do not have any values. You do not have any sense of a ranking among South, West, and North. So we have this variable has a nominal scale of measurement. Number 5, the percentage of university professors who receive a raise of over 3% last year, such as 15.3%, 34.56%. Now these percentages are values, so they are the result of calculation. So they cannot be nominal or ordinal measure. But does this variable has an interval scaled measurement or ratio scale of measurement? Again, we can use the little test about the nature of zero here. Okay. If last year there's a 0% of professors who receive a raise of over 3%, this statement means that nobody among the professors in the university who receive a raise of over 3%. So that's exactly what that statement means. So in this case, 0% means what? The 0% here means that there is an absence of anybody. There's absence of any percentage of faculty in the university who receive a raise of over 3%. So 0 means here is nobody receive a raise of over 3%. So 0 means an absence of the raise here. Again, this little test give us answer yes. Therefore, this variable has a scale of what? Ratio scale of measurement. So this little test really works very well if you really try to grasp the nature of zero. Okay. If the 0 means the complete absence, non-existence of the attribute, such as time, such as money, such as people, well, we have a ratio scale of measurement. And if the answer is no, we'll have an interval scale of measurement. Question number 6, occupations such as professors, managers, accountants, computer specialists, office workers, salesperson, etc. Now these are just the names of different occupations, and you do not really have a sense of the rankings or orderings among all these different occupations. Excuse me. So this is a nominal scale of measurement. Okay, this is quite straightforward. Number 7, responses to survey questions. How happy are you? Extremely happy, very happy, happy, unhappy, very unhappy, extremely unhappy. You have this clear sense of a ranking or ordering of all these different options. So obviously, this is a variable that has ordinal scale of measurement. Again, very straightforward. Now look at this. Question number 8. Latitudes such as 45 degrees north, 63 degrees north, 80 degrees south, etc. Latitudes. Okay. Again, these are values. And as a result of measurement, you don't call them nominal or ordinal scale. So they are either interval or ratio scale. Which one? Now again, we are going to use the little test, the nature of zero. Now, if there's a location, here's a location, all the locations here along the equator. These locations have latitude 0 degree, 0 degree. Now we have this 0 again. Now, when this location, or all these locations along the equator have the latitude 0, what does this 0 mean? At the 0 degree latitude, does that mean that along those locations along the equator, there's no latitude? So that the 0 means an absence of latitude along the equator. Now think about this. That the 0 along the equator means that there's no latitude. The latitude somehow vanished, disappeared from the surface of the Earth. The answer is no. The answer is no. At the 0 degree at the equator, there's still latitude. The latitude is 0. The latitude is 0 along all these locations. The latitude is 0. So 0 is the latitude, or the latitude is 0. The 0 does not mean that there's absence of latitude, because 0 is the latitude. So based upon the test of the nature of 0, we can conclude that the latitude is a variable that has interval scale of measurement. Same can be said about the longitude. Okay, same can be said about the longitude. At 0 degree of longitude, there's still a longitude. 0 is the longitude. Okay, so longitude also has the interval scale of measurement. Number 9, elevation measured as the vertical distance from the sea level, such as 200 feet above the sea, 35 feet below the sea level, and 1800 feet above the sea level. Now these are meaningful values, so they had to be either interval or ratio scale measurement. Okay. Again, we are going to use the little test, the nature of 0, to determine whether this variable elevation has an interval or ratio scale of measurement. That 0 means an absence of the attribute. In other words, does the elevation 0 means that there's no elevation? Look at this graph, at this elevation. Can we say that there's no elevation? That there's no elevation? Now, elevation is one of the 3 ingredients that determines the actual position of anything on the Earth's surface. Okay. How far you are from between east and west, how far you are, where are you between the north and south. Also, in terms of elevation, are you above sea level, below the sea level, or at the sea level? Now, if somebody tells you that I'm at the sea level, the elevation is 0, what does that mean? Does that mean that this person somehow lost his elevation? There's no elevation at the sea level. Can we say that? The answer is no. When somebody's elevation, when some locations elevation is 0, it does not mean that at that location that there is no elevation. there is elevation. The elevation is 0. The elevation is at the sea level. The elevation is 0, and 0 is elevation, and elevation is 0. And 0 here does not mean an absence of the elevation, because 0 is the elevation. Here, the 0 simply is give a convenient starting point to a measuring system, so that we can relate the elevation from other levels to this starting point. So anyway, 0 here does not mean that there's no elevation. 0 is the elevation. Okay. Now, since in this little test about the nature of 0, our answer is no. So obviously, the answer to this question is that we have a interval scale of measurement. Number 10, zip codes such as 62026, 15673, 28764, etc. Now, on the first appearance, on the first look, these are all numbers. These are all numerical values. But these values, these numbers, are not result of calculation, not result of measuring. These numbers are made up numbers, artificial numbers. We just made up those numbers and use those numbers as labels, as names to, give code to some areas on Earth's surface, and to distinguish one area from others. And this one area that has larger zip code 62026 compare with another zip code area 15673. It does not mean that the first zip code area has more attribute of a zip code area than the zip code area that has a smaller number. You cannot add up those zip code numbers. You cannot find aggregate or total or find average over a bunch of zip code numbers. And those calculations just very meaningless. So those zip code numbers are actually just like somebody's name. And therefore they are not interval, not the ratio scale of measurement, and they do not even have any sense of ordering. So the only thing you can say about the zip code is that this is a nominal scale of measurement. Similarly, area code of telephone numbers, FIPS code of counties and states are all the nominal scale of measurement. So the answer is that zip code is nominal scale of measurement. I hope this helps. I see you next time. Goodbye.